Hey guys, Dr. J here with another Move With Me Monday, and this week I'd like to talk hamstring tightness. Hamstrings can tighten up for a multitude of reasons, some of them being athletic activities like walking, running, jogging, hiking, biking, anything like that if you're starting a new exercise program. And they also really tighten up if you're spending a lot of time sitting. So we see tight hamstrings a lot in everyday life, and we are seeing it even more right now with new workstation setups of people working from home a little bit more, or people spending more time outside starting up new athletic activities. So there's a number of different ways that you can stretch the hamstrings. Number one way that we see people do when they come into the office is they demonstrate that they just bend over and touch the toes. This is a good stretch, but it doesn't isolate out the hamstrings. And by rounding out the low back, if you do have existing low back issues, you may be putting a little bit of strain on the low back. So I'm going to take some time today to show you one of my favorite stretches that really saves the low back and keeps it in a nice, safe, neutral position while really isolating out the hamstrings. And then I'd also like to talk about if you've been stretching your hamstrings for a couple days, you're not noticing any improvement, you can take advantage of one of the natural built-in reflex loops of your body. So this reflex loop is the agonist-antagonist loop. So if we're talking about the hamstrings, them being the agonist, which means the mover, then the antagonist to the hamstrings would be the quads. So basically, the body's smart in that if we are trying to use one muscle, then we are going to turn off the other muscle that does the opposing action. This allows for less likelihood of injury of that muscle and also allows for it to be more effective in using the muscles that it wants to. So if we're talking about really tight hamstrings, what we want to do is we want to activate the quads. So in order to activate the quads before stretching, what we want to do is nice quad isolation exercises. So some things that you can do, nice squats. You can figure out what form works for you, but you can do a couple of squats as they tend to really turn the quads on. You may also find that a lunge for you is quite effective. So you can set up for a lunge and do a couple reps of a lunge on each side, and that should really turn the quads on, while also turning the hamstrings off. In this case, the quads are the agonist or the mover, and the hamstrings are the antagonist, so the body is turning them off. And another one that you can do in the seated position is with weights or without weights, you can do leg or quad extensions. So this really isolates out the quads and really makes sure those hamstrings are turned off completely. So you can do a couple reps of this on each side before you go into the hamstring stretch. And again, we're turning the quads on to turn the hamstrings off. So now let's get to the stretch I really like for the hamstrings. So I'm going to show you it on both sides. What you're going to be doing is stretching one side at a time. So if we're going to start with the right side, the right leg comes forward and the right toe comes up towards the ceiling. What you're going to do then is the left leg gets a little bend, and then you can't see it right now, but you'll be able to see it a little better when I stretch the other side. You're going to put your hands on your low back because you want to maintain this position. What you don't want to do is bend through the spine. You're actually just going to be hinging from the hips or pushing the hips backwards to get a hamstring stretch. So with the hands on the low back, just like so, it's almost like you're feeling back for something to sit on. This other knee's bending a little more, and we're just going to hold the stretch. Just with that little movement, I'm getting a huge stretch down my right hamstring, and you're going to hold this for 20 to 30 seconds. And then we're going to move on to the other side. So with this side, you're going to have the left foot out in front, just like that, toe up towards the ceiling. Right knee is going to bend a bit. Hands are going to be on the low back. Again, maintaining that neutral spine, not bending in through the spine. We're using the hips to move us. So we're feeling back, pushing that bum, and I've got a nice stretch in through that left side of the hamstring, and I'm going to hold that for 20 to 30 seconds. If you have a little bit of balance issues, you can make sure that you're holding on to something on either side of you, or you can put a hand on the thigh that you are balancing on. Now, if you have played around with this, you've done the hamstring stretching, you've done the agonist-antagonist actions to try to turn the hamstrings off before you've stretched it, and you've been at it for a couple days, couple weeks, and you're not noticing a lot of improvement, it may be that you need a little bit of help. So feel free to reach out to us if you have questions or you want some treatment from either your chiropractor or massage therapist to help you get those hamstrings under control. As always, stay safe, everyone.